It's high time that we look at a mammal on this channel, and I've jumped at the opportunity. Sooner or later, I was bound to cover our most iconic animal. Couldn't skip it. This fantastical creature that we take for granted is truly a leap in evolution, and you'd have to be hopping mad not to appreciate its majesty. Who wrote this rubbish? With a spring in your step, join me as we dive inside the kangaroo. That doesn't sound right. Oh yeah, dive into the life of the kangaroo. The peaks, the hurdles, and the downright bloody bizarre. Let's bounce. What actually is a kangaroo? This isn't some weird French existentialist question, but the definition of kangaroo is not as clear-cut as you may think. Roos belong to the macropod family, which means Bigfoot. No, not that one, although he's probably out there too. There are 4 total recognised species. Also in the family Macropodidae are all of the wallaby species, as well as the adorable tree kangaroos, pademelons, quokkas, and the wallaroos. If you've never heard of a wallaroo, I don't blame you. They're like the overlooked member of your friend group who only communicates in Lord of the Rings quotes, but they're the glue that holds the macropods together. What's the difference between a kangaroo and a wallaroo? Size may seem like the obvious answer, but it's more complicated than that. Kangaroos are generally recognised as macropods that live collectively in mobs, while wallabies and wallaroos live a more solitary lifestyle. So rather than being distinct categories, wallabies, wallaroos, and kangaroos all exist on a continuous spectrum. Like autism. Let's take a closer look at the species. First up, it's the iconic red kangaroo, simultaneously the largest roo, marsupial, and Australian mammal. Living, of course. Males can be identified by their iconic red fur and rippling physique. You myrin, brah? These disciples of Ziz are native to the arid regions of the continent. Then there's the eastern grey, almost as large as the red, but with a thicker grey coat suitable for the temperate east coast of the country, from the tropical rainforests to the frozen mountaintops. Most of the footage you'll be seeing in this video is of these fellas. Next up, it's the often overlooked Western Grey, which spans a territory from New South Wales to Western Australia. This kangaroo has a darker coloration around the head and body. And let's not forget their adorable mini subspecies, the kangaroo island roo. They are, as the Japanese would say, kawaii desu. Then there's the antilopine kangaroo, or wallaroo, depending on who you ask, which resides entirely within the tropics. The final 2 wallaroo species are the widespread common wallaroo and the shy and near-threatened black wallaroo. Stay safe, you sooty introverts. The anatomy of a kangaroo is built around one core concept: ruthless efficiency. But who is Ruth anyway, and why do we want less of her? It's such a terrible dad joke. Like grey nomads, they've evolved to cross vast distances of sparse vegetation in search of greener pastures, and opted for an unlikely mode of transport: hopping. But it actually works in their favour. Their legs are locked in a parallel position and can't move independently of each other like ours. They contain special tendons, the body's natural rubber bands, which store 70% of the potential energy during a jump. Because of this, once they get up to speed, it requires little effort to continue hopping. Meanwhile, running mammals continually lose energy the longer they move. Filthy casuals. Their breathing is also efficient. As they spring off the ground, air is pushed out of their lungs, and as their feet move back into position to land, air is drawn back in like a massive bellows. The feet themselves are quite peculiar. The second and third toes are fused together, and the soft pads on the underside cause far less damage to the topsoil than hooves. Their large meaty tail acts as a counterweight while hopping, and they can use it to walk around on all 5s, which is called pentapedalism. Famously, roos can't move backwards, only forwards, which is why it adorns the crest of our proud nation, along with you. Kangaroos congregate in large groups called mobs. Red kangaroos are predominantly nocturnal to avoid the heat of the day. Greys are crepuscular, meaning they're most active around dawn and dusk. During the day, they lie around like they're posing for a life drawing class. Juvenile roos are preyed upon by dingoes and wedge-tailed eagles, but the mature roo has little to worry about. Once upon a time, the thylacine and thylacoleo hunted mature adult roos, but since they've gone the way of the dodo, their only remaining predator are humans. Cheeky little buggers. Kangaroos are so often hit by cars that they have to put up these helpful signs, as well as for other native species. Poor old kangaroos don't exactly help themselves, often jumping into traffic at the last second. Even still, be careful when driving around dawn or dusk. Be ready to hit the brakes, and if you do hit one, check to see if there's a joey in the pouch. You might just save its life. During a tussle with a predator, usually a dingo or a dog, roos will attempt to use their hind limbs to casually disembowel the opposing foe. They also have another fascinating defensive strategy. They'll assume this posture, like a serial killer in a swimming pool, and wait for a predator to follow them in, and then proceed to calmly waterboard them to death. Kangaroos are herbivorous, and thank God, because there's over 40 million of them. They possess a two-chambered stomach for digesting a diet of grasses and shrubs which need time to ferment. Similar to other marsupials, their teeth are ground down to nothing over time. Luckily, they have 3 extra backup pairs that push the old pairs out. Once the 4th set of teeth have been depleted, kangaroos do something truly remarkable. They die. Ain't nature fun? Now there's an even more important question. Do kangaroos fart? Yes. However, their digestive emissions contain less methane compared to grass-eating ruminants like cows. Part of the reason is a special gut bacteria found in juvenile roos, which converts fermented plants into acetic acid, which aids in muscle growth. Imagine having a body that converts farts into steroids. And get this, scientists are trying to figure out how to transplant this bacteria into cows to reduce their methane emissions. And now for the intimate details of the kangaroo's reproductive ballet. Male roos are called boomers, plenty of those watching my videos, and God bless them, while females are called flyers. Breeding roos will form consort pairs. An interested male will observe a female and follow her every movement while she signals discreetly. He smells her urine to see if she's an estrus, whatever floats your boat. If they're both interested, the pawing, licking and scratching commences before the main event. The male will insert his member, which I'm not sure if I can actually show on YouTube, but try to imagine a carrot with scoliosis. He'll insert his bent carrot into her cloaca that contains within it 3 vaginas. Naturally, there's one for each of her 2 uteruses, and a 3rd for birthing. The male, with his testicles that are positioned above the penis, will release a deluge of reproductive aioli. If successful, this will create an embryo in one of the uteruses that are both functional at the same time. It's possible for her to be perpetually pregnant, which sounds like a whole heap of fun, right ladies? It's during these hookup sessions when fights between males typically break out as they compete for the privilege of a kangaroo. 2 boomers will square up, grapple each other with claws, and then take turns drop-kicking each other in the guts until one of them relents. They've evolved special toughened belly skin to prevent unwanted intestinal spillage. Back to the mother, they're capable of something called embryonic diapause. During the pregnancy, she can quite literally put the baby on hold until there's enough room in the pouch for another joey. Once the dad has helped conceive, he exits the equation and leaves mum to it. Contrary to popular belief, marsupials do have a small yolk-like placenta. Once the fetus has consumed it, they need to get out fast. After just 30 days, what emerges is a blind, sentient jelly baby. It only comes in one flavour: blood. It begins its epic journey by crawling out of its mother's cloaca and into the pouch. This is where it will spend the next 3 months, hanging from a nipple like a gory Christmas ornament. And here's what it looks like after a few months. Is that a chihuahua with alopecia? This must be the wrong slide. Oh no, that's what it looks like. Once the joey has become too big to live in its mum's belly basket, it'll have to leave the pouch and touch grass. The joey will live off milk even outside the pouch, until they're ready to begin their lifelong vegan phase. Fun fact, the mother can simultaneously produce 3 different strengths of milk for each stage of the joey's development. Young males will start their fighting careers at an early age, often using their own mother as target practice. At the ripe old age of 3, he or she will be ready to perform this beautiful reproductive ballet once more. Now to ruffle some feathers. Kangaroos experience a natural boom and bust cycle with the changing seasons. When it's dry, males will become temporarily infertile, and females will only conceive if enough rain has fallen. When the rains come, their populations will explode and often grow to an unsustainable level. Thousands of these roos will die of starvation when the drought inevitably comes back. Kangaroos are lovely, but there is such thing as too much of a good thing. The solution to this problem is a hotly debated topic. Culling has been the government's go-to solution for decades, but sterilisation is also an option. It's not a glamorous subject, but roo populations do need to be controlled one way or another. Like Splendor in the Grass attendees, if left unchecked, they will strip the earth bare, drain water supplies, and destroy the habitats of many other native species in the process. In the past, kangaroo populations were kept in check by large predators and indigenous hunters. But for obvious reasons, this is no longer the case. Indigenous people prior to colonisation were very good at striking a balance between hunting and showing restraint, never overhunting. For example, when kangaroo numbers were low, they would only kill the males to ensure that more joeys could be born. Which brings us to the subject of eating them. I'd personally be open to eating more kangaroo meat. It's more sustainable, high in protein, and low in fat compared to beef. Now obviously some people might be opposed to eating our national icon, which is why I propose changing our emblem to the Brussels sprout. No one likes those. None of this is without its issues, of course. As a species, we don't exactly have the best track record when it comes to not hunting animals to extinction. It's a tricky one. I recommend this ABC Landline doco if you're interested in this topic. Time to end on a lighter note. Kangaroos are amazing creatures. Their physiology is unlike anything else on this planet, from their legs to their stomachs and their other parts. These marsupial megafauna have done the impossible and have found a way to not just survive but thrive on this unforgiving continent. There's just something so damn likeable about the roo. Their cute furry faces, their chilled out attitude, and their god-tier charisma. They may test our patience sometimes, but we are blessed to have one of the most unique animals in the world hopping around our backyard.